What is your name, and how do you spell it?
My name is Andy Kies, ANDYKIESS.
How old are you?
I am 31 years old.
Where are you from?
I am from Clayton, Delaware.
Where did you go to study makeup?
I went to the Douglas Education Center in Menneson, PA, also known as the Tom Savini School of Special Effects. It's going to be a long night.
How did you get started in the makeup field?
I've always had an interest in monsters, horror, and gore. I used to play the tricks of Bloody Severfinger and Box. And from there, I would start to get a little bit more elaborate, start making masks, getting more makeup and supplies. I'd start making more elaborate Halloween costumes every year. And one time I found an ad in the Fangoria magazine for the Douglas School, and it just seemed like the next logical step.
What were your first makeup experiences?
Like I said, I started off doing little pranks and stuff. After that, I got into theater, doing basic foundation work, doing other character makeups, putting horns on somebody, some old age. After that, after going to school, I would do more higher grade makeups, such as full face, old age makeups, full character demonics. And after that, I got into doing short films, recently including a popular book, Mistborn, where I did the Steel Inquisitor.
Are there different fields of makeup?
There are a few different fields of makeup. First would be cosmetic, which would be just your standard beauty makeup. There's special effects makeup, which would cover haunts, horror movies, any kind of movie that would require prosthetics or creature design, or just to alter a person's look. Then there is also the fandoms, Comic-Con, whatnot. And then there's also prosthetic makeup, which would be different types of prosthetics used to help people who have lost body parts due to illness or war.
What is your favorite genre of movie?
I'd have to say my favorite genre is horror.
What is your favorite horror movie?
It's hard to pick just a favorite horror movie because there's so many different ones. I do like the classics, Dracula, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon. I like the Living Dead series, Night, Day, Dawn of the Dead. The Freddy franchise, Jason. There's just too many to just pick one.
What are some of the materials you use?
The materials that you use vary greatly. It could be, I've used basic food products, coffee grounds, gelatin, corn syrup. Some of the more official products would be latex, cotton, silicone, polyfoam, collodion. There's just a very wide variety out there.
Are there different ways to apply makeup?
There are a few different ways. There's brushes, which are used for basic creams and powder makeups. There is adhesives such as Pros-Aide and Telesis 5, which would be used for applying appliances anywhere on the body. There's airbrushing, which is used for body painting or putting in better detail onto appliances.
What exactly is a life cast?
A life cast is a negative mold of a person's face or head, which could be used to create a prop such as a severed head, or also used to make a solid copy out of stone or fiberglass, which you can then sculpt on to create an appliance.
What exactly is a sculpture?
A sculpture is an original creation, usually made out of clay, but it can also be made out of other materials such as foam or wood. It's usually then molded to create sculptures, statues, appliances, or props.
What is a mold?
A mold is a negative, which is usually done of either a sculpture or most anything you need. Usually you would use stone if it's a soft item, or if it's a rigid item, you could use silicone or a urethane based material.
What is an appliance?
An appliance is a piece usually made out of foam latex, silicone, or gelatin. It is usually used to either do small changes to a person, which would be increasing a nose size or making more pronounced cheekbones, to even doing completely changing what a person looks like, either a race change, age change, or even a species change.
Who are some of the people that influence you?
I'd have to say that my biggest influences would be the pioneers in the industry: Lon Chaney, Jack Pierce, Rick Baker, Stan Winston, Dick Smith, and others like them.
Have you had any major setbacks in makeup?
Setbacks, definitely. Biggest setback would probably have to be time and money. Being an independent artist, it doesn't pay well. So I had to make sure I use my time wisely working around my work and paying my bills. So whatever's left over, I try to devote to what I can to my art.
What is CG?
CG is computer generated. It's the latest technique being used in replacing practical makeup effects.
What are your personal feelings on CG?
Personally, I'm not entirely for CG, especially with all the misuses it's been having lately.
How is CG affecting the film industry?
I feel it's taking over the film industry. It's ruining the realism in film by replacing practical makeup and effects. And because it is so widely accessible now, that it's resulting in several films that are very graphically poor.
Can CG be useful?
CG can be quite useful if it is used properly to help accentuate a scene. Lately, it's been used in place of makeup effects or scenes by completely adding its own, therefore getting rid of the realism, and it tends to stand out more.
In your personal opinion, what is the best example of CG?
I'd have to say, in my experience, the best example I have seen of CG in a film would be Jurassic Park. The way they're able to incorporate the dinosaurs into the background and into the actual main parts of the film, along with the actual practical environment, was able to integrate it perfectly.
In your opinion, what is the worst example of CG?
I'd have to say, of what I've seen, one of the worst examples would be I Am Legend. The decision to trade out the practical makeup that they had in store for the CG version was, in my opinion, the worst mistake that film made.
Do you feel I Am Legend would have been better then with practical makeup versus CG?
Absolutely. If they had stuck with the original practical makeup, which was phenomenal, it would have been a lot better. Using the CG, it made the creatures stand out from the film and made them feel like they didn't belong in the scenes.
In your opinion, what is one of the best examples of makeup?
There are several really good examples of makeup in film. One of the better ones I could think of was the movie Stardust with the actress Michelle Pfeiffer. As she started to age through the movie, all of that was done with just basic makeup, no prosthetics. They didn't start adding the prosthetics until she was at the decrepit stage of the old age.
In your opinion, what is one of the worst examples of makeup?
In my opinion, I would say in the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, the Freddy character, his makeup looked a little too much like a victim who's submerged under water too long rather than somebody who is burned alive.
Have CG and makeup ever been successfully combined then?
Yes, they have. The best example I could think of would be the movie Pan's Labyrinth. The characters Fano and the Pale Man. With Fano, the fawn, he was completely practical makeup done, except for how the legs were. They weren't able to get the look that they wanted. So what they would have to do is use green screening to delete his legs. Therefore, by using the CG, could get the look that they wanted. And along with the Pale Man, he had the eyes in his hands, which would be extremely difficult to articulate with how they wanted the scene done. Inspiration.
Where do you get your inspiration?
I get a lot of my inspiration from everyday items. I'll be able to look at something and be able to see some kind of creature or something in it. A lot like how people will see animals or items in clouds.
What is one of the hardest things about being a makeup artist?
I'd have to say money. It's not a lot of money in being a makeup artist unless you work for a big studio. And with that being how that is, you can't really afford to buy new materials and supplies, so you can't really practice your craft to the fullest extent. So you have to make do with what you have.
What is one of the best things about being a makeup artist?
Best things would probably be coming up with these ideas for a new creature or something, going to work and creating it and be able to see it in real life and see it used in film, and that and just scaring the crap out of people.
Are there any future projects you're working on?
Currently, there are several projects that we're working on. We have probably about a dozen or so film projects that we're looking to start, and I alone have countless other personal items I'm working on. Some films, we're looking at doing a fan trailer for Doctor Who and a Batman series, and I have several creature designs that I'm working on myself.
How do you think the industry will change in the future?
The way it'll change is hard to tell. They're coming out with different techniques all the time of how to do things. Currently, CG is the one that's starting to take over. But in the next several years, who knows? With the rise of hologram technology that's been rising up lately, maybe soon there won't be a need for actors.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I would like to be in a shop for a studio creating creatures for the next film. But in all likelihood, I just hope to have a decent paying job to allow me continuing my freelance work.
As the film industry shifts its direction away from makeup, do you foresee makeup artists moving more and more back to theater?
I could see that happening if the film industry starts going strictly CG and having no place for practical effects and makeup. Then makeup artists are going to have no other option than to go back to theater. That or just straight having freelance jobs with sculpting or haunted attractions and conventions.
Do you foresee haunted attractions being another source of revenue for you in the coming years? As I've heard, they've been growing bigger and bigger.
I could see that becoming a serious possibility with the industry being harder to get into lately and being on the East Coast and not having very many studios around. That would have to be a definite possibility for me to look into.
Are haunted attractions harder to get into than normal film studios?
I wouldn't think so, depending on the size and location. Uh, the local one here, all you have to do is just go up and say you'd like a volunteer there or get a job there, and most likely you'll get it. There are others that you may have to actually audition for, but overall, I don't think that they're too hard to get into.
What advice would you give to someone starting out in the makeup field?
I would say start with the basics. With the internet how it is, you can look up how to do anything you need to do in this industry. But with that, you may jump into the more advanced techniques too soon and may find yourself on set one day with a problem you have no idea how to fix it. It's best to start with very basic items, household items. That way you'll get a good foundation for your craft and then work your way up.
Well, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to me today, Andy.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for having me.